Welcome back. We're still reading The Lost Puppy by Holly Webb, and yesterday we finished chapter 4, where Lucky had finally come out of the woods to where the cars were parked only to find that the family car was gone, and he was feeling really sad. Let's go on to chapter 5 and see what happens with Lucky next. Ready? Here we go. Lucky sat down on the path miserably. He'd been just about to find Christy, he was sure of it. But it looked like she'd left without him. He couldn't understand why she would go away and leave him. Didn't she want him back? Was she angry because he'd frightened Anna? He whimpered, staring across the road at the space where the car should have been. Then he whirled around, his tail tucked in, with a tiny growl beginning in his throat. Behind him was a tall man who'd come jogging down the path, his big white sneakers shining even in the gathering dusk. "Hey, it's all right. I almost stepped on you, didn't I? You poor little thing. I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I was just running. I wasn't really looking." The man crouched down, panting, and stared at Lucky, smiling. "You might just be the smallest dog I've ever seen." Lucky glared at him back suspiciously, remembering the lady who had scolded him before. The man held out a gentle hand, and Lucky sniffed at it. The man smelled like another dog, which wasn't good, but aside from that, Lucky felt as though he could trust him, and he didn't know what else to do. "Who do you belong to? You're not a stray. You're very well taken care of. Beautiful shiny coat, and you're not skinny even if you are a tiny thing. Where's your collar? I bet you slipped out of your leash, haven't you? Someone's going to be really worried about you." Lucky backed away slightly as the man's hand went to his pocket, but all he did was pull out something in a crinkly wrapper and open it. He broke off a piece and held it out to Lucky. "It's not really the best thing to give a dog, but a little bit won't do you any harm. You try it, pup. It's good. I like them, especially when I've been out for a run. It's an energy bar." The thing smelled sweet and sugary, and it was making Lucky hungrier than ever. He darted forward and snapped it out of the man's hand, swallowing it in one gulp. "Nice, isn't it? Want some more? I wonder who you belong to. You must have come here for a walk with your owners because there are no houses around here and nothing close by, and you're too little to have come this far on your own." The man looked around thoughtfully. So where are they, huh? I don't want to leave you galloping through the woods on your own, and it's starting to get dark." He stood up again and looked around. "Hello? Anyone lost a dog?" The shout echoed through the trees, but no one answered. The only sound now was a light pattering as it began to rain. We're going to get soaked." He looked down at Lucky, who was shivering and pressing himself back against the bushes. "Sorry, pup. Did I scare you by shouting like that?" He broke off another piece of the energy bar, and this time Lucky nibbled it out of his hand and let the man pet his head and ears. "Yes, you're a beautiful little boy, aren't you?" He sighed. What are we going to do with you? There are no cars left, and I can't hear anyone else around. I can't just leave you here on your own. You don't look to me like you've got any road sense at all." He stretched out his hand again, and this time Lucky sniffed it eagerly, hoping for more food. But the man picked him up instead, very gently but firmly enough that Lucky didn't feel as though he was going to be dropped. He snuggled against the man's warm hoodie, feeling a tiny bit better. Of course, the man wasn't the same as Christy, but he was warm and friendly, and the sugary stuff was very nice. "Come on, then. You'd better come home with me while I call the dog shelter." The man tucked Lucky in the crook of his arm and set off down the road. Lucky stared back at the trees and the greenish, gloomy darkness that was settling between them. He didn't like it here. But what if Christy came back for him and he disappeared? He wriggled in the man's arms and howled. He had to stay here and wait for Christy. Surely she was going to come back, and now he wouldn't be there for her. Shh, I know, but I can't leave you here, pup. Don't worry, we'll find your owners, I promise. The man frowned. Well, I hope so anyway. On her way back to the woods with Dad, Christy peered anxiously out of the car window. She'd read so many stories about dogs finding their way home that she half expected to see Lucky trotting down the road towards them. Dad, she pointed to the grassy area, we parked here and we went up that path. She looked at her watch. It had been an hour since they'd left. She had to wait for Dad to get home, and then they'd driven all the way back. Lucky had been missing for 2 whole hours now. Her dad parked the car. Come on, then. He got out and peered into the darkening woods. Don't worry, Christy. He's probably just hiding from the rain. Christy shivered. Somehow the woods looked much less welcoming than they had after school when the autumn sun had been bright and friendly. But she straightened her shoulders and marched determinedly up the path, calling for Lucky. He had to be here somewhere. Can you remember where Anna fell? Dad asked, rushing after her. He might have had the sense to go back to where you left him. I think so. It wasn't far from here, just on the other side of the stream. Christy hurried on, crossing over the bridge and looking anxiously from side to side, calling until her throat started to hurt. I can't understand why he isn't coming, she told her dad, stopping at the top of a little slope and staring around them hopelessly. I know he's naughty, but he usually comes when I call him in the yard. He knows I'll give him treats and cuddle him. Why doesn't he want to come back to us now? She leaned against her dad, trying hard not to cry. If she started, she knew it would be hard to stop. Christy, don't worry. This place must be full of amazing smells for a dog. Dad hugged her. He's bound to be off chasing a squirrel or something. And remember what he was like when he met the German Shepherd in the park? He might have chased after another dog. We did hear another dog barking, Christy nodded, but it sounded like it was a long way away. Dad, he could be anywhere, she added. What if he ran on the road, she whispered. Her dad sighed and hugged her tighter. I don't think he'd do that, Christy. He's never tried it before, has he? He's only been on a couple of walks, Christy pointed out miserably. And if he saw another dog, he might. Her dad shook his head. There's no reason to think that he went onto the road. He's probably sitting under a tree waiting for you. He'll be angry that you left him, knowing Lucky. Dad was trying to be cheerful, Christy knew, but it really wasn't working. She kept walking and calling, but still no Lucky, or even an answering bark. Hey, what's that? Her dad asked, pointing at a flash of blue among a mass of twisted roots. His leash! That's Lucky's leash! Christy's heart jumped wildly as she scrambled for it, hoping that she might find Lucky curled up fast asleep at the other end. He did sleep very deeply sometimes. He might not have heard them calling. But all she found on the end of the leash was Lucky's collar. Oh, Lucky, she whispered. He must have slipped it off, Dad said grimly. Well, at least we know he was here. Come on, let's keep looking. We've got another half hour before it's completely dark. Christy swallowed as she looked at the massive, hulking trees. There were holes and hiding places all over the woods, and it was getting darker by the minute. She was scared, and she was with Dad. And if she was scared, Christy couldn't help thinking as they hurried deeper into the woods, how frightened must Lucky be, all alone? Wow, poor Christy, she's so worried about Lucky. You know, in a way, Christy is like Lucky's mom. I mean, Christy has her mom and dad, and Lucky has Christy. So you can imagine how worried parents are when they don't know where you are and aren't sure that you're okay. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? It's always important to let your mom and dad know where you are or where you're going so they don't have to worry about you. Anyway, that's what I think. Well, this is the end of chapter 5, and we'll see what happens to Lucky and his adventures in chapter 6. And hopefully Christy won't be worrying too much. Hopefully she'll find him soon, but we won't know. So join us next time for chapter 6. And remember, if you don't want to miss any of the continuing story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'll say goodbye and be well.